somewhere in New Jersey, while 82,000 people were screaming their lungs out inside one of the biggest stadiums in America, someone standing far away from the crowd was quietly recording something completely different. Not from the pit, not from a fan cam account with a shaky phone and a bad angle. This came from someone who has been standing inches away from Jimin's face for years, someone who knows exactly what he looks like before the lights hit him, after the lights hit him, and every single second in between. And when that person posts something, people stop scrolling immediately. Because this isn't a fan guessing what happened backstage. This is someone who is actually there. If you're new here, stick around, because by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly why this tiny Instagram story clip became one of the most talked about moments from BTS's return to the United States stage. And if you've been following this channel for a while, you already know the drill. Smash that like button before we start, because trust me, this one is worth it. Let's set the scene first, because context is everything here. This is not just any random Saturday night concert. This is August 1st, 2026, at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, one of the largest stadiums in the entire country, sitting quietly across the river from Manhattan. This venue holds more than 82,000 people on a good night, and on this particular night, every single seat was filled. BTS was there for the ARIRANG World Tour, their first full group tour in years, since all 7 members completed their mandatory military service and came back together as a complete unit. This isn't a comeback in the small sense of the word. This is one of the biggest returns in modern music history, and MetLife Stadium was only the second stop of a 2-night residency, the first of 2 shows before the group packed up and moved on to the next city. And here's something a lot of casual viewers don't realize. This exact stadium already made headlines just a couple of weeks earlier for a completely different reason. MetLife Stadium hosted the 2026 FIFA World Cup final, arguably the single biggest sporting event on the planet, and BTS performed at the halftime show alongside Madonna, Shakira, and Justin Bieber, in front of a global television audience of hundreds of millions of people. So when BTS came back to that same stadium just 2 weeks later for their own headlining show, it wasn't just another tour date. It was BTS returning to the exact same ground where they had already made history, except this time the entire night belonged to them and only them. Now, here's where things get interesting, because this show wasn't just about the music. Samsung Galaxy partnered directly with the tour for this New York stop, activating experiences around the city days before the concert even happened, letting fans capture content with their phones in special photo zones built specifically around the tour. There was a multi-day event across Manhattan called BTS The City ARIRANG New York, with stamp rallies, pop-up merchandise stores, and even themed bakery items at cafes around the city. This wasn't a concert. This was an entire cultural takeover of New York City for nearly a week, and August 1st was the peak of it. So picture the scale of what's happening here. Tens of thousands of fans traveling from across the country, sold-out shows on both nights, an entire city dressed up in BTS branding, and a production so massive it required a fully in-the-round, 360-degree rotating stage just so every single person in that massive stadium could see the members up close no matter where they were sitting. This is the environment this story clip came out of. This wasn't a small local show. This was one of the loudest, most chaotic, most emotionally charged nights of the entire North American leg of the tour. And in the middle of all of that noise, one person quietly opened Instagram and posted a 15-second clip to her story. Her name is Kim Riem. If that name doesn't ring a bell yet, let it sink in for a second, because this is not some random account. This is Jimin's actual makeup artist, someone who has worked directly with him for years, someone who has been present at some of the most important moments of his career, from red carpet events to Dior runway shows in Paris to album shoots to, yes, concerts like this one. She's not new to sharing little glimpses of his life either. Over the years, she has quietly given fans small windows into moments most people never get to see, little behind-the-scenes flashes that only someone actually standing next to him could capture. So when someone with that level of access decides to hit record during a live show and post it, that's not just another fan cam floating around the internet. That's someone from inside his actual circle deciding this particular moment was worth sharing with the world. And what did she share? A short video, clearly recorded from somewhere near the stage, showing Jimin in the middle of a performance. He's dressed in this layered look, a denim jacket thrown over a plain white tank top, with a pair of loud, colorful patterned pants that somehow still work with everything else he's wearing, because that's just who he is at this point in his career, someone who can make almost anything look intentional. In the clip, he has one hand resting on his chest, right over his heart, in that quiet, almost vulnerable gesture he's known for making during the more emotional parts of a show. Behind him, the stage design looks almost industrial, like steel beams and scaffolding lit up against a smoky, atmospheric backdrop, giving the whole thing this cinematic, larger-than-life feeling. But here's the detail that really got people talking. The caption. She didn't write something generic like "Great show tonight" or "So proud of him." She wrote something much more specific, something in Korean that translates to Jimin and the dancer's chemistry, followed by a small heart. Think about that phrasing for a second. She wasn't just capturing him performing. She was specifically pointing out a moment of connection between Jimin and one of the dancers on stage with him, something happening in real time that caught her attention enough to pull out her phone and hit record, and then caught her attention again enough to name it directly in the caption when she posted it. Now, if you don't watch a lot of live shows, you might not understand why this detail matters so much. Anyone who has ever seen Jimin perform live, whether in person or through fan-uploaded clips online, knows that he has built a reputation over more than a decade as one of the most dynamic, most physically expressive performers in the entire industry. Korean and international media alike have referred to him using titles like Concert King, specifically because of how consistently his live performances generate viral moments. It's not a one-time thing. It happens practically every single tour, every single stop, almost every single night. Some artists play it safe on stage, hit their marks, sing their parts, and move on. Jimin has never really operated that way. Every show becomes an opportunity for him to add something in the moment, a piece of choreography, a burst of energy, an interaction with someone else on stage, something that wasn't rehearsed the exact same way the night before. So when his own makeup artist, someone who has probably watched him perform from the side of countless stages over the years, someone who has genuinely seen it all when it comes to his stage presence, decides that this particular moment with this particular dancer was worth capturing and posting, that tells you something. She's not an outsider guessing what's special. She's an insider confirming it. And that's exactly why this clip spread the way it did. Within minutes of it hitting her story, screenshots and reposts started circulating across fan accounts, translation pages, and eventually broader entertainment coverage. It wasn't framed as just another fan cam. It was framed as proof, direct, undeniable proof from someone who is physically there and who has professional, personal access to Jimin, that something genuinely special happened on that stage that night. Fans started replying with comments about how supportive his team always seems to be, pointing out that this wasn't the first time someone close to him has stepped outside their job description just to capture and share a moment they found meaningful. There's something genuinely touching about that, if you think about it. This is someone whose actual job is to do his makeup before he steps into a stadium full of 80,000 screaming people. And yet, in the middle of all of that pressure and all of that spectacle, she still takes the time to watch, to notice, and to care enough to share it with the world. Let's talk a little more about why this particular tour stop matters so much in the bigger picture, because understanding the full context makes this one small clip land even harder. The ARIRANG World Tour is not just any tour. It is BTS's first tour together as a complete 7-member group since 2022, following years of individual solo projects and, more significantly, years of mandatory military service that every member had to complete. For a group that built its entire identity around unity, around the 7 of them moving as one, that separation was massive. Fans waited years, genuinely years, not knowing exactly when or how the group would come back together as a full unit again. So when this tour was finally announced, and when tickets went on sale, stadiums sold out almost instantly across multiple continents. This isn't hyperbole. Venues that hold tens of thousands of people sold out within minutes in some cities. That level of demand tells you everything you need to know about how much anticipation had built up over those years apart. The tour itself is enormous in scale, spanning dozens of dates across more than 20 countries and dozens of cities, stretching from South Korea through Japan, across the United States, into Europe, and eventually into Latin America and beyond. Every stop brings its own version of the same core set list, built heavily around their newest album, but with just enough spontaneity mixed in, including rotating surprise songs during the encore that change from night to night, keeping even the band's biggest longtime fans on their toes. Nobody, not even the members themselves according to reports, knows exactly which older song will get pulled out and played on any given night until it actually happens. That element of unpredictability is part of what makes every single stop on this tour feel like its own unique event rather than a copy-paste show night after night. And MetLife Stadium was one of the crown jewel stops of the entire North American leg. It's not just about capacity, even though 82,000 plus is genuinely massive. It's about location. New York and the surrounding tri-state area represent one of the largest, most passionate fan communities anywhere in the world outside of South Korea itself. This is a market where BTS has performed before, where they've broken attendance and box office records before, and where expectations were sky-high heading into this two-night run. Add in the fact that the group had just performed at the World Cup final at this exact same venue only weeks earlier, and you have a stadium that was essentially primed and ready to explode the second the group walked back out onto that stage for a show that belonged entirely to them. Now here's something worth pointing out, because accuracy matters, and we're not here to make wild claims without backing them up. We don't know exactly which song was playing during this specific clip. We don't know the dancer's name. What we do know, and what we can say with confidence, is who filmed it, where it was filmed, when it was filmed, and how it was captioned. That's already more than enough to understand why it resonated the way it did. Sometimes the most powerful stories aren't the ones with every single detail confirmed. Sometimes it's the simple fact that someone who knows him best, someone who sees behind every layer of the performance, chose this exact moment out of an entire 3-hour show to capture and share. Out of every song, every transition, every costume change, this was the moment she decided was worth pulling out her phone for. Think about what that actually means for a second. A concert like this one runs close to 3 hours, packed with more than 20 songs, multiple costume changes, choreography sequences, solo moments, group moments, encore surprises, pyrotechnics, screens, lighting design, everything you could imagine from a stadium tour of the scale. Out of all of that, one specific moment with one specific dancer stood out enough to someone who has probably watched Jimin perform more times than almost anyone else on earth. That's not a small thing. That's a genuine signal about what actually happened on that stage, even if we never get the full play-by-play breakdown of it. This is also a great example of something that happens constantly around this tour and around Jimin specifically, which is the way small, seemingly minor pieces of content end up carrying more weight than official marketing ever could. A polished promotional photo from the tour's official account is nice, but it's expected, it's planned, it's controlled. A blurry, unfiltered, 15-second phone clip from someone's personal Instagram story, posted in the moment with a genuine, unscripted caption, feels completely different. It feels real. And in an era where audiences are constantly bombarded with overproduced content designed to sell them something, that rawness is exactly what makes moments like this one spread so fast and resonate so deeply. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly someone who appreciates the details, someone who wants the real story instead of just a flashy headline with nothing behind it. And that's exactly the kind of viewer this channel is built for. So do me a favor right now. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we cover moments like this from every single stop of this tour, verified, translated, and explained with the full context you actually need to understand why they matter. And drop a comment down below telling me what you think was happening in that clip. Do you think it was a planned bit of choreography? Or do you think it was one of those spontaneous, in-the-moment sparks that just happens when a performer like Jimin is fully locked into a show? I genuinely want to know what you think, because these comment sections turn into some of the best discussions on this entire channel. Let's also talk briefly about why this specific tour has been such a non-stop source of headlines, because this MetLife moment didn't happen in a vacuum. Just weeks before the show, Jimin made global headlines again when a jersey he wore on stage during that World Cup final halftime performance sold at a Christie's charity auction for $110,000, tying for the single highest-selling item in that entire auction, even outperforming pieces connected to some of the biggest Western musical acts in the world. That auction wasn't some small fan fundraiser either. It was a major charity event tied directly to FIFA's Global Citizen Education Fund, meaning Jimin's item wasn't just symbolically important, It was literally one of the most valuable pieces in the entire sale. Stack that on top of ongoing brand ambassador work with major fashion houses, continued chart dominance from his solo work, and now this tour that's breaking attendance records across multiple continents, and you start to understand the sheer scale of momentum surrounding him heading into this New Jersey show. That's important context because it explains why even the smallest pieces of content connected to him during this tour explode the way they do. When someone is at this level of global visibility, every detail becomes a story. A jacket becomes a headline. A caption becomes a headline. A 15-second Instagram story from his makeup artist becomes a headline. It's not manufactured hype. It's the natural result of years and years of consistent, undeniable stage presence, finally colliding with a moment in time where the entire world is paying attention at once. And that brings us back to this exact clip, because when you zoom back out and look at the full picture, this wasn't just a cute little moment between an artist and a dancer on stage. This was a snapshot of what happens when someone spends over a decade mastering live performance to the point where even the people closest to him, the people who see him at his most unguarded, off-stage moments every single day, still find themselves stopping to record when he's on stage doing what he does best. That's the real story here. Not just the clip itself, but what it represents. Genuine, real-time proof that even after everything, after years in the industry, after a global pandemic pause, after mandatory military service, after everything that could have slowed this group down, Jimin still has that effect on people, even the ones who are paid to make him look good before he even walks out there. Before we wrap up, let's talk about what comes next, because this tour is far from over. Night 2 of this exact MetLife Stadium run happened the very next day, and from there the tour continued rolling through more major American cities before eventually heading overseas again. Every single stop carries the potential for another moment just like this one. Another small clip from someone unexpected that ends up telling a bigger story than any official press release ever could. That's exactly why staying tuned to this channel matters, because we're not just recapping set lists and ticket prices. We're pulling together every verified piece, every translated caption, every confirmed detail, and putting it together so you get the real picture, not just a chopped-up highlight reel with no context behind it. So here's what I want you to do before you close this video. First, if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who are looking for exactly this kind of accurate, in-depth coverage. Second, subscribe and turn on notifications, because with a tour this massive, moments like this one are going to keep happening night after night, city after city, and you don't want to miss the next one. Third, drop a comment below and let me know which tour stop you're most excited to see covered next, because your input genuinely shapes what we cover here. And finally, if you know someone who's just getting into this fandom, someone who might not fully understand yet why a 15-second Instagram story clip can become this big of a deal, send them this video, because honestly, this is a perfect example of exactly why it happens. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. This channel exists because of viewers like you who care about getting the real story, not just the surface-level headline. We'll be back very soon with the next update from this tour, so make sure you're subscribed and ready, because trust me, based on everything we've seen so far, this is far from the last time we're going to be talking about a moment like this one. See you in the next video.